Everyone, welcome to the Select Board meeting. Today is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. This meeting hearing of the Ayer Select Board will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom and Channel 8. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom, meeting ID number 978-772-8220, or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting. And with that, if I could ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Any amendments to the agenda?
No, I have none. Make a motion that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And chair says aye. And any announcements tonight? Okay, all right. Anyone here for public input on anything other than agenda items? Once, going twice. Okay. All right then. All right. So with that, if I can ask the Board of Health to join us for the request for use of opioid funds.
Absolutely.
Hi.
Hi.
You guys don't like it.
Yeah, I know. We haven't seen you lately. So we were posted as a joint meeting because we're both here. So I don't need to read this, correct? I just need to open the Board of Health meeting.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So with that, then I'm calling to order the Ayer Board of Health meeting for Tuesday, October 7th, which is in conjunction with the Select Board to discuss the opioid funding. Okay. So we have some money coming to the town, as you know, from the various opioid settlements that are going around. So I'm not sure how much you know about this, but there has been an effort spearheaded by Jenna at Neshoba to pull together a group of the towns, surrounding towns that are all getting money. And the idea was to pool all of that and put it into one fund that will be administered under an IMA intermunicipal agreement that I think went out in your meeting packet. So the towns, just so you know, Harvard, Littleton, Bolton, Shirley, Ayer, Groton, and Pepperell are the towns that would be participating in this. So the IMA actually establishes this group, the Neshoba Opioid Abatement Collaborative, and then the day-to-day runnings of it, including, there was also in your packet a request for proposal for coordination and support services. So that would be one of the first things that goes out once this new group is all formed. So my understanding is Shirley, Groton, and Bolton have signed. Harvard has agreed to sign. They were supposed to be signing like today, tomorrow. So we're kind of getting close to getting everyone ready to go. So what I'd like to do first is just kind of share with you as some very quick background, the survey that we did. And this was the survey that we had let you know about back in like February, March, whenever we ran it. And so it was just posted in a few public places, and it was very simple, just 10 questions about basically who people are and what's your connection to town. Would you like to see the funds pooled into some sort of collaborative? And then what are your priorities for what you think the funds should be spent on? So very quickly, it was primarily women, like 66%, 97% Caucasian. There was one African American, so that might be a little skewed. The age range was pretty well distributed, a little skewed to older. Everybody lived in the town of Ayer. And then the next questions kind of were trying to feel out who are the people that are impacted and how are they impacted. So this was really interesting to me that a lot of, and more than one, even though there were only 29 respondents, there are actually 43 of these because some people picked in 2 categories. But interestingly, an awful lot did not have any personal involvement. But there were also quite a few that had friends, family members, some very close involvement, and some that had been involved themselves. The strategies, this is kind of more information, I think, for that working group, for like where the money should go. But I'm glad that we did this ranked choice because it really pointed out that there are kind of 2 big things that people want to see the money spent on. And it's connections to care, maybe paying for treatment, finding out what treatment is available. An awful lot of respondents said that they just didn't know what is available out there. So that was kind of good. And Carly has the link if you want it. These are a little interactive so that if you click on the bar, it'll actually show you the whole text of the question. This is a little bit abbreviated. So, so that's kind of what people think that we should be spending the money on. There's also one about number 8 is about just barriers and gaps that they have experienced. And this had really 3 main drivers. The biggest one was paying for treatment, like 20% of the respondents. Close to that, 19% said it was not knowing what services are available. So, kind of again, I think we've got to do a little bit of education. And then there was the stigma, or the just being uncomfortable with the whole treatment thing. So it gives good information, I think, and all the towns did these. We put together our own survey content, but the format was very similar. And then we found that there are people that have heard of the funds, were a little bit familiar with this, some not at all, some very. And then kind of just trying to assess what's the relationship to people. Are they, are people aware of services? Do you, are people that that may be affected, are they getting services? But question number 12 is really kind of the payoff, I think, for this, our reason for coming before you tonight. And we got a really strong response on the pooling question. And that was 80% supported pooling. So out of our respondents, 23 of them were yes, only 5 no's, and there was 1 no opinion. So that was a really strong response for that. So this is, I don't want to belabor this. This was kind of done as information to guide you as to whether this is something that you want to get involved in or not, kind of take the pulse of the residents and see what they're thinking, and then to give some of the more detailed questions about what people need would be input to the group that's going to administer the funds. So with that as background, Trish is the Board of Health representative that goes to the meetings, and they're once a month?
Once a month, yeah.
So she has much more information on the nitty-gritty, like every week thing. But the 2 documents and the RFP, I don't, you can put, some time on that, obviously, if you want to. The interesting thing in the RFP document is it has the breakdown of the funds and which towns are getting what. And Harvard got quite a bit of money. They're putting in 1/2 of their total opioid funds. The other towns are up for just putting in 100%. And several of them, I mean, Shirley is even smaller numbers and Bolton than some of our numbers. So kind of makes sense to get more bang for your buck. So if you're interested in how the surrounding towns break out, you can definitely see this. The IMA is the document that's going to create the NOAC, I guess, the group that is administering these funds. And so they will issue that RFP once they're legally created with all the signatures on this. There are some nice, kind of assurances for us as a town. We will never have to or be asked to put in more money than our total allotment from the opioid funding. So there isn't going to be any commitment for monies from, out of the town's pocket for this at this point. They accept gifts, but there's no requirement for that. And there are also some reporting requirements in here that they'll be reporting to the group and to the select boards of the sponsoring towns on what the money is being used for and what's going on. And then, of course, Trish is still involved in the monthly meetings, and I think those are going to go on for a while until this is really
until probably into January before we're really
exactly
get it up and running.
So what we're here tonight for, in a nutshell, is to ask you to consider a vote to approve the IMA. It right now requires a select board signature, which I was kind of surprised about. I thought the town manager had to do that, so I'm going to let Robert field the legality of that piece. But right now it is set up for a select board signature. And then the other piece of it is to just let you know that we're here and happy to support, if you want more information on the program, or if you'd like to have more input for guiding how the funds are spent, we can definitely be the conduit for that, and we don't mind doing it. So this is something that the Board of Health is recommending as a good thing for the public health of the town overall. So that's my sales pitch. Do you have any questions for us?
Can't think of anything at the moment. You guys?
Just, you might have said it and I missed it. In the agreement, have you decided on who the host is?
Oh, yes. How could I miss that? Littleton is going to be the host.
Okay.
And they haven't yet, this thing must get changed 3 times a week, honestly. So there is yet another update coming with Littleton entered as the host town. There will also be that copy of the signature page with Harvard's select board on it. Those are the 2 changes that I know of that are upcoming.
There's so many eyes on this right now, and that's why
I know.
Member
Absolutely.
thinking, oh well, we forgot to put this in, we forgot to put that. Just want to be careful.
Yeah.
It's legal, so.
And at the same time, I don't want to rush you. If you have any questions about what's in here, if there's anything that you're not really feeling that comfortable about, let us know and we'll try to resolve those questions for you and get the answers.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess as a curiosity, human nature, why is Harvard only giving 50 and everybody else is 100?
That's
it just kind of
$1,000,000
stand out.
question, yeah.
I know.
Uh-huh.
Partly because they got so
I was going to say,
much.
because they got so much.
Yeah.
Which
But-
I've never understood, well, it's beyond my thinking, but the formula, it does not match where the at-risk towns are.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. And Brad, who is a member of the Board of Health in Harvard, he opens every meeting with, "I'm really sorry, you guys, but we're going to make sure you get as much as you need." He's really been great about it. Yeah, I don't know who made up the.
Put in at least 75.
I don't even know.
I mean, it just stands out, It's just like,
It really does.
what else are you going to do with it?
Yep.
The formula itself is, I don't know, whoever made this decision.
Yeah.
It's very poorly
Have
done.
you ever heard what Harvard thinks they might want to spend the rest of the money on?
they're batting around a few other things. There was some, when we did the surveys, not everybody agreed at once on like, oh, did you want
Okay,
education? Did you want funding for, people
Yeah.
that don't have insurance? So there was a little bit back and forth on that,
Okay.
so, yeah.
Robert?
Madam Chair and members of the Select Board and Board of Health, good evening. A comment and then just through the chair, just a couple of quick clarifying questions. So I think, first of all, the IMA, as the board is familiar with, we recently did one with coin, is appropriate to form and so forth. That many of the towns, including us, have KP law, so this has gone through that. I'd also add that, as the chair knows, since we've been receiving opioid funds, and as of right now, the current balance is $22,797. We did put together 2 interdepartmental meetings to try to discuss, potential uses for this. As the board knows, it is restricted as to what you can and can't use the funds for. And it just seems that this regional approach, as the chair of the Board of Health mentioned, I think is an effective direction to go. And just 2 clarifying questions. So one is under number 3 on the advisory board, it says that there are 2 members appointed by each municipality. So there's if you will, a member and an alternate.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Who does that appointment? I mean, not to get into the weeds in the interest of time. In other words, does the select board make that appointment? Is it from the Board of Health? So just something, I don't think that would hold up, potentially approval,
I gotcha.
but just
I'm reading it as the select board.
Yeah.
takes the
But
appointment.
Yeah,
But then,
because you have the discretion on the spending of the
Right.
funds, so I think
Okay.
you want to maintain your
Yeah.
control that way.
So just, I think we can clarify this,
Yeah.
offline, but
Yeah.
that was just one. And then the second is under number 5, under the payment in funding. It looks like before each fiscal year for each program,
Yeah.
the advisory board and so forth would put together a budget and what have you, and that would be driven by the contributions from the town, which is fine.
Mhm.
I guess the question is, just so I think everyone's aware, and I have to double check, is under the class action settlement, all of the funding, regardless of the purpose, is subject to approval by the select board. So what I'm getting at is the select board each fiscal year will have to vote. In other words, I
Right.
don't believe you can do a blanket
Yep.
vote. So you or the advisory board be coming back. each
I'm pretty
fiscal
sure
year.
I saw something in
Yeah.
here
So I
about
just
that.
Those were my
have to do
only,
it every
they were
year.
just clarifying
Yeah,
questions. And
Yeah.
other than that, I think that it is a good use of this resource, not only for Ayer, but for the region.
we can do more with,
Yeah.
we're not getting enough money to really make an impact, and I think all the other towns joining this, except maybe Harvard, are kind of in that same boat.
yeah.
Not enough money. to-
Well, it's my recommendation, if for some reason we need more money, we talk to Harvard first.
Yeah,
Just
I like that idea.
Yeah, okay.
We're
Cough it
meet-
up,
Yeah,
you
once a
know.
month we're together, so
Yeah.
if there's anything that you want brought up, then we
Yeah.
can discuss it.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
that's driving them too, they're select boards and they have other people with input that have come forward, so, yeah, it's a team.
yeah, exactly. And who knows, maybe as they get deeper into this, they're gonna find that it's hard to do some of this stuff on your own because the
Yeah.
things that you can spend it on are so
Right.
limited and there's so much overhead, so that's a possibility I could see down the road, is
Yeah.
maybe them changing to say we're not really doing a good job administering this on our own, but I don't know.
Okay. Yes.
One final to the chair of the Board of Health's question about signing the IMA. As the board knows, only the select board can vote to enter into an IMA, and they can either sign it or they can authorize the town manager.
Okay.
It sounds like for this particular one, the board is signing, which is fine.
That's how
Yeah.
all the other
But just to
CDs
answer
come out.
your
Yeah.
question,
Okay,
it's up to the
okay.
board.
Yeah, that's a kind of a legal technicality I just wasn't sure of.
Yeah. That was redone, I don't know how many times we
Yeah.
talked about
Really?
it. but
Okay.
They just wanted to make sure it was done right, and they did have a legal consultant help them to put it together the first time, was Rich Mucci was
Yeah.
writing that, so.
It's been through a few
Yeah.
sets of eyes,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it feels like it's probably getting pretty tied up.
Yep. So,
Well, I mean, I think everything looks good, and you guys are happy with it?
Yeah, we are. We think that we're gonna be able to actually get some, results for our money if we're
Okay.
in a group like that.
Yes, Mr. Curran?
I actually wasn't anticipating this conversation, but if I might, are there any state, or what are the state and federal reporting requirements attached to the money? That is, are the municipalities or is Littleton responsible, and what do they need to provide to the state and or federal government?
That's a really good question. Now I'm gonna try to punt to Robert, because
Yeah.
I know you've been through more of the financial details of this before, right?
Madam Chair?
Mhm.
Through you. So in terms of the reporting as I understand it, there'll be some reporting that the collaborative as a whole will have to make to the Department of Public Health on the state level, probably the counterpart on the federal level. And I know that the opioid funds are subject each year to audit, and they have to be reported to the class action settlement. So there's sort of like,
that's
there's sort of like
oversight.
three levels. So there's the Federal Health and Human Services, DPH. The funds are audited both on the local level annually through the annual audit, and they have to be reported to the settlement administrator.
Okay, but I guess what results, that is, how will the intermunicipal agreement measure the success of whatever treatment modalities, service provision that they enter into?
Yeah, gotcha. I honestly don't know if
I think that
it's gotten to that
Yeah, I think
stage.
through the
of
chair,
formulating
I
that.
think that's what one of the things that the advisory group is going to have to develop.
Yeah.
it's still in the,
So,
it's still in the,
Yeah.
developmental stages. We're not even gonna,
yeah.
I think we're looking at January before everything comes to fruition with all the
Yeah,
different
maybe
people.
by the time the
Yeah.
seeds are tied up. But I agree with you, that is really
Yeah.
important, that we've gotta have some way to measure whether we're actually getting the results that we're hoping for, so. Excellent point.
And that might be something for the,
Yeah.
The host.
Yeah, that's where I'm gonna make my
Yeah,
note to see if that's.
Littleton.
Like, yeah.
All right, we,
I have no more questions. So what are we looking for? A motion to enter into?
Yeah.
So then I'll make a motion that the board approve the Board of Health entering into the intermunicipal agreement as presented.
Seconded.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Congratulations. Keep us posted.
Fantastic. And let us know if you
Yeah.
have questions at any point along the way. We're more than
Suggestions
happy.
too, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
everyone's
exactly.
money that's being spent, so.
Right.
you know.
We will definitely keep you informed. Thank you so much for your consideration. So we need to close our meeting.
Oh.
All right, so we're adjoining the October 7th meeting of the Ayer Board of Health at this time.
And I make a motion.
Did you make a motion? Yeah, make a motion. I think I did it on
You
board.
did. All those in favor?
All right, aye.
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
there,
So bad at that.
I know.
So you can sign that last page. I think the way they're doing this is, so that this last page just doesn't change, but I'll also be sure to let you
Or just
know.
let us
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
If something changes in the agreement itself, I will absolutely let you know about that. And you'd be within your rights to reconsider, so.
All right, thank you very much.
All right,
All
thank
right,
you.
have a nice one.
You too.
All right. Next up is review and approval of the fall special town meeting warrant that is on October 27th, 2025, which I hope everyone will attend. It's always a good time. And I'm actually not kidding about that. I'm not even being sarcastic.
Madam Chair, members of the board, so I just was going to give a brief overview of the warrant, and then specifically, as is always the case with any draft and further draft, there were three highlighted things since Friday I just wanted to flag for the board's consideration and then answer any questions the board may have. So it is a 10-article fall special town meeting warrant. There were no citizens petitions submitted to the town clerk by the deadline of October 3rd at noon. The first four articles which the board is familiar with are zoning bylaw amendments. The board had a brief presentation made on those back in the beginning of September, and then voted to send them to the planning board, which did its due diligence, including holding a public hearing on September 9th, which is required for all four, and then have recommended them back to you for placement on the warrant. At town meeting, as is required for zoning bylaw amendments, is the planning board needs to make a report, and I know that the town planner has a brief presentation on all four of those. Then there are three easements, grants of easements. The first one is a grant of easement with National Grid for 1 Main Street for Habitat for Humanity, as the board has entered into a license agreement. This is so we can get electricity to the Habitat home on Newton Street. It will involve a pole being placed at the rear of the town hall property. The DPW director for town meeting will have images of all three of these and be available for a brief presentation, answer any questions. So Article 5 is the grant of easement for the Habitat home on National Grid. Article 6 is a grant of easement with Catania Spagna at 0 Nemco Way. There is also an existing license agreement for this. Will allow them for the installation and operation of a storage container as part of their expansion. It's approximately 2,000 square feet in size. Again, the DPW has been working with them for some time, and the board previously entered into a license agreement. Article 7 is a grant of easement for the Grove Pond Clear Well on 99 Barnum Road at the Grove Pond facility. Again, the select board has entered into a license agreement. This is to allow the electrical upgrades to connect the new Clear Well storage tank to power. And as the board knows, the Clear Well is designed to address the PFAS and the capacity issues. Then there are two articles from the Community Preservation Fund from the CPC. Article 8 looks to authorize $400,000 for the Devon's Crest Affordable Housing Support. This has gone through the CPC process, pre-application, application, public hearing, and will be before town meeting. The Finance Committee reviewed on October 2nd and voted 4-0 to recommend. There will be a brief presentation at town meeting on this. I should also point out that on both of the CPC articles, if you go to the Community Preservation's webpage on the town's website, all of the supporting documents are there. Article 9 is a community preservation authorization for Ayer Housing Authority request for generators at 18 Pond Street, and have highlighted, I thank the chair from CPC on Friday to remind me there was a typo. It is for $250,000. The version apologies that you had on Friday said 230,000. It is been 250,000 is what was voted by the CPC, and it has been corrected in both the article and the explanatory note. Again, a brief presentation on town meeting on that. The last one is Article 10, which is the authorization for the town funding for the senior center building project. And I just want to preface, as the board is aware, the nature of these articles is very specific and complex, and I want to thank Barbara Tierney for all of her work on this. They involve bond counsel and town council, and they're very specific. And so, in other words, it would be great sometimes if things could be worded differently, but I just wanted to just go through this article briefly, and I have highlighted both the explanatory note that has gone through several revisions, and I also, Carly has corrected it here, but in the version there was a typo on the finance vote, was actually 2 to 1 to 1 on September 10th. So 2 voted for not to recommend, 1 voted to recommend, and there was 1 abstention. And that is reflected now in the correct form there. So the article does, and I also want to say this, and I met with the moderator recently. This is a major project for the town. So at town meeting, there will be a full presentation that will be in sort of 2 parts, as it was for FinCom and Capital. Dr. Petrassi will present the project, if you will, and then the second part, myself and the finance manager, Ms. Tierney, will talk about the town funding plan and the tax implications. So there will be a robust presentation so that everybody has all of the information. So the Article 10 does 2 things. It's important. So the first thing it does is it seeks town meeting to authorize the town to appropriate the sum of $13,550,000 to construct, equip, and furnish a senior center building. Now, as has been reported in the public outreach, and it is in the explanatory note, which we'll get to in a minute, the total project is $15,165,170. But what we're asking town meeting to do is to appropriate up to this amount, because there are other funding sources that are outside of town meeting and outside of the article. So just bear with me. That's why it gets a little, and we're going to take a lot of time at town meeting to, explain all of that. So the first thing is the article will authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, to borrow the amount of $11,550,000, subject to the passage of the debt exclusion ballot question on November 4th. So as the board knows, the debt exclusion is a 2-part process. It has to pass town meeting by a 2/3 vote on October 27th. And then on November 4th, voters will vote, and it has to pass by a simple majority. If those 2 things happen, the town is authorized to borrow up to $11,550,000. However, our intent is only to borrow up to $10 million. The reason it's $11,550,000 is there is one grant, a $1.3 million grant, that we cannot apply to until we have a shovel-ready project with town meeting approval, and that application process opens in April of 2026. Under normal circumstances, as a federal CDBG program, we anticipate we'll be very competitive in this. The issue, and I don't mean this through the chair in any political statement, but the reality at the federal level right now, the CDBG program has been around for over 60 years, and with the situation as it's been, there's been talk it may be discontinued or not. In the event that that grant would not be secured. The contingency, that's why it's the 11,550,000. But the intent in we will do everything is to only borrow up to the 10 million. The second part of the article, it asks town meeting to authorize the use of $2 million from the town's capital stabilization fund. Both of these have to pass by 2/3 vote. So that's so if you add the 11,550,000 and the 2 million, you get the 13,550,000. In the explanatory note, it states obviously that this was submitted through capital. It's going to be located on Bishop Road. The total cost of the project is there. Capital Planning voted 4-1 on September 11th to recommend, subject to a debt exclusion per the town's financial policies. And then it mentions what I just talked about, the process, the approval of a debt exclusion, 2/3 town meeting, simple majority on the ballot. The election will be on November 4th, 2025 at Town Hall. Polls open from noon to 8 p.m. Per the board's meeting and vote on September 25th. And then, as it says here, though the current total cost of the project is $15,165,170, the town has developed a project funding plan in which the town transfers $2 million from the town's capital stabilization fund, uses other funding sources not subject to appropriation by town meeting for the purpose of reducing the tax impact on the taxpayers, including $1 million in UDAG funds and $2 million in grants and private fundraising, and borrowing the remaining amount. The town intends to reduce the total amount to be permanently borrowed for the project by the amounts of grants and private funding payments it receives prior to the issuance of the bonds. The current estimated annual cost impact for the average residential tax bill to borrow $10 million would be approximately $143 per year, and to borrow, if it was the maximum amount, $11,550,000, would be approximately $165 per year, each calculated over a 25-year borrowing term for illustrative purposes. And why we say that is the board knows it would be great if we could predict with 100% accuracy the future of interest rates and so forth. But this is based on Barbara's work and bond counsel, town council, a solid projection. And the explanatory note is provided for informational purposes only. Presentation on the senior center building project, the town's funding plan, and the fiscal tax impact analysis will be made at town meeting. And for more information, visit the Senior Center Building Committee webpage on the town's website. It's perhaps the longest explanatory note in the history of town meeting warrants. I think the biggest takeaway, though, obviously, is we need voters at town meeting, and we will present all of the information. So that is the warrant in a nutshell.
All right, thank you very much. So I saw Representative Cena last night, and I told him, I said, here you're getting us $50,000 for the senior center. He's like, yep. I said, we need more, and you're going to get it. So, and he's like, well, I had asked for more, and this is what I ended up with. I said, well, go back and ask again, because we need more. So anyway, all jokes aside, I did talk to him, and he is going to continue to see what he can do as far as getting some more funds.
Good.
So that's the best answer he could give last night. But I said, don't make me ask you again. So but anyways, I wanted people to know that is still,
Yes.
being looked into, and but he did say, if there's other things that pertain to this, that he can ask for money, like in a different question. rather than I need money to build it, like I need money to put up the wallpaper. We should let him know. Okay, so.
And just to add to that, he did ask for more. I do know that
He did.
He did get 50,000, which was approved in the state budget as signed by the governor on July 1st. What we're waiting for, and I check in every week, is when the earmark is going to be released. So that's what we're waiting. But there is 50,000. The other piece I should add is that the Friends of the Senior Center group have begun their fundraising initiative. Their goal is about 250,000, of which to date, and it could be higher, but to date they have about 65 to 67,000 in pledges.
Oh, excellent.
And then when I talked with the director and Barbara, the plan is unless the gift is, and there are specific opportunities, but any significant financial gift, we would be coming to the select board. As you know, under the law, you have to accept said gift, and it would go towards the project. Obviously, our goal is to minimize the borrow and minimize the cost.
Yes, Pauline.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Really, one simple question. Robert, I think you probably are the one to answer it. Do we know yet what our free cash is?
So through the chair, the certified free cash, Pauline, is not certified yet. It is in process. We anticipate the certified free cash. I hate to, because numbers then become part of the record. It is in process. We anticipate it to be somewhere in the at minimum of probably 1.5 million, maybe higher.
I'm not holding you to anything, Robert,
Yeah.
but it'll be in the vicinity of at least what we've had in past years.
Pardon? I'm sorry.
I said it will at least be in the vicinity of what we've had past years, maybe not as much.
Yeah, we remain cautiously optimistic.
Optimistic.
Yep.
Okay. And is that available for appropriation now or only in May or April?
It depends, as you know, Pauline, it depends. It needs to be certified, obviously, before it could be appropriated. We don't know. It most likely will be May.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any
Good
questions,
question.
Chris?
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
I think the warrant looks good. Yeah.
That's his question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
So, Madam Chair, just for public purposes, to let people, yourselves and other people know that on Thursday the 16th at the high school at 7 p.m. there will be a public forum to once again provide the public information regarding the senior center, the funding mechanism, the wording of the article. And as Robert mentioned, it's a lengthy explanatory note, and it's obviously a big project for the town. So we would encourage everybody who has questions about it or wants to drill down a little bit into the weeds of it to be up at the high school next Thursday evening, and we'll hopefully get all their questions answered.
Okay, so in case anybody didn't hear that, that's October 16th, which is a Thursday night, 7 p.m. at the high school. There will be a public information forum on the senior center, and everyone show up if you can. And I highly encourage, and I say this every town meeting, I highly encourage everyone to show up at town meeting, listen to the presentations, and vote. And with that, do I have a motion to approve the warrant?
I will make a motion to approve the warrant.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye, the warrant is approved. All right, and town meeting is on October 27th, 7 p.m. at the Ayer Shirley Regional High School, which we've spelled Shirley wrong in this memo. So, yeah.
I think I spelled it wrong.
I just noticed it as I was
think
reading.
it's too
So.
fast.
But anyway, so everyone show up. Okay. Next up on the agenda is the approval of the FY27 draft budget calendar. Robert.
So if I could just briefly, Madam Chair, an administrative update and just review of warrants. So you have the warrants in your packet since the board last met. I just wanted a couple of things on the administrative highlight. First of all, the Newton Street Festival this past Saturday was another huge success. The weather was picture perfect, which is the only thing we can't control, but it was a great time had by all. I just want to publicly a special thanks to Samantha Benoit, Chuck Schultz, Barry Schwartzel, Alicia Hersey, and Rachel Friedlander, who were sort of the committee this year. Well, they were the committee this year for the event. Did a fabulous job. A special thanks to the premier sponsor, Main Street Bank, and Allison Migrants, who the board met when she came with the check, and also Nasoya, that was a sponsor. So it was a great event, and I think it was a good celebration of the community on a spectacular day. So now, next on the horizon, we'll be looking towards the annual holiday stroll and tree lighting, which is historically the first Saturday in December, which would be December 6th, and more to come on the town's various holiday events, the tuba concert and so forth to come in December. Town meeting preparations, a lot of focus has been on that. Appreciate the board's support for the warrant. I just want to add that the town will be doing the articles of the day to promote town meeting. We will be having a web page dedicated to town meeting, as we always do. The warrant will be publicly posted this Friday, including on the website and locations throughout town. And as you said, Madam Chair, I think the key thing is for people to obviously attend, but if there are any questions in advance of town meeting, please let us know. The warrants will go to print and mailing on Friday as well and arrive at all the households before town meeting. Just real quick on the FY27 budget update. The Rate Review Committee continues to meet. They're in the process of reviewing and developing solid waste transfer station rate recommendations, which are subject to a public hearing and approval by the board. So more to come on that front. Capital planning, the capital directive went out on October 3rd with all plans and requests due by October 31st. And we anticipate the first meeting probably to be the beginning of November. It's still early, but on the FY27 budget, and that budget directive usually goes out December 1st, there are some initial observations that we are aware of and monitoring. One is that the town's health insurance through Maya may go up next year as high as 20% or more. It's not just us, it's statewide.
Take your vitamins every day.
So again, it's early, we're hoping for the best, but it's hitting everybody. So there's one area we're monitoring, and benefits and payroll went to a meeting that was down in Rentham recently about that. We will keep the board updated. We don't have any specifics yet, but it's something we're flagging. The second thing, and I don't mean this in any way as a political statement, but the sort of the volatility on the federal level has a trickle-down effect to the state and local area, and we're just, it's just a period of a lot of volatility that I think there are more questions than answers. You know, how will tariffs play out? How will inflation fully play out? What is the impact to grants that we rely on? That all, unfortunately, is question mark, but something we're monitoring, and the impacts to grants. Also, the impact to the schools. As the board knows, the schools, both school districts receive a lot of federal and state grants, and the impacts to both the two largest pieces of our overall budget. And there's just a lot of volatility. Also, the impacts of the hospital closure on two fronts. Obviously, the tax revenue moving forward now that it's vacant, and the impacts on the emergency response system, which Chief Johnston and his team are monitoring closely. So again, we are in good shape thanks to all of the effort of the town and the support of the townspeople. We have strong reserves. We have we're in good shape, but it's just as we're looking at these issues, we'll sort of drive sort of the budget directive, and we'll talk more about the budget as we get closer and as we get more information. But I've already begun to convey, and I have a meeting tomorrow with all departments about a very conservative approach on the capital front and on the operating budget as well, to be proactive. The 71 Sandy Pond Road Working Group met on September 29th. Just want to keep the board updated. They've got another meeting coming up the end of October. They have all of the information from the public charrette as well as from the Parks Commission. And at that meeting, we're in the process with the consultant of putting together probably 3 options or a scenario, which will keep the board updated on initial improvements to the Sandy Pond property. So we'll keep you updated. 2 last things. On September 19th, the Community and Economic Development Office, Rachel Friedlander and Alicia Hersey, held a meet and greet event from 10 to noon up in the Great Hall. It was really well attended by a lot of businesses and community stakeholders. The DPW had a brief table explaining, looking at the future of Main Street, and the Senior Center Director had information table about the Senior Center project. But it was a really well-attended event. And as mentioned earlier, on September 25th, the Select Board met and voted to call the debt exclusion election, special election for the Senior Center project. That election is Tuesday, November 4th. Polls open from noon to 8 p.m. Mail-in ballots can be requested through the town clerk's office, and I believe we will continue to put some outreach on that. That's my administrative report. Any questions? The budget calendar. So let me just we're talking about the budget calendar. Sorry. Here it is. Okay. So I just wanted to highlight some of the major dates as we're in October, and we'll be looking for the board's approval. And as in previous years, I think this tool has worked well, that in the event that there are any changes on these dates, I have to come before the select board to discuss and get your approval. That way it keeps us to the timeline and also informs the public of any changes. So just briefly, October 3rd, the warrant closed. You just approved the warrant on October 7th. October 17th is the last day to register to vote for the special town meeting. So if you're not registered, do check with the town clerk's office. You have till October 17th to register to vote if you're not registered. The warrant, as I mentioned, will be posted on Friday, the 10th, and everybody will receive that prior to town meeting. The capital directive has gone out. Town meeting is on October 27th. Capital due October 31st. Looking ahead to November, the union negotiations will begin. There's only one union contract up this cycle, which is the Town Hall Clerical Union. Capital will begin to meet. The Select Board, to be determined, the date will be set by rate review for the public hearing on the transfer station rates, usually in November. The Select Board, the tax classification hearing, the Board of Assessors and the Assessor will be ready for November 18th, which is your second meeting in November for the tax rate. December, the budget directive goes out December 1st. All budgets will be due back December 29th. January, non-union negotiations. There are 3 non-union contracts up, the fire chief, the deputy fire chief, and the town clerk. draft one of the budget to the Select Board and FinCom around January 16th. The board will respectfully be asked to open the town meeting warrant and call the annual town election at your January 20th meeting. February 13th is the target to end all of the union and non-union negotiations, so we have all of those costs for the budget. The beginning of March, the regional school assessments will come in. We're looking to do a public presentation on the budget on Wednesday, March 25th at 6 p.m. Later in the process, but later in the process means we have the maximum amount of information without a lot of placeholders and variables. The select board generally holds the water and sewer rates at, usually is the second meeting in March, which would be March 17th. It's subject to rate.
Could we remove the date for
Yeah.
that?
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it probably will be that date,
Yeah.
but I don't want the committee working toward a date. I want them working on a solution.
Got it. Okay. And then the warrant closes on April 3rd. This is for the annual town meeting. That's the deadline at noon. Citizens petitions to the clerk. April, you'll approve the warrant on April 7th. That's your first meeting in April at 6. And then the IDFA budget is also approved around that time, April 7th. Then the warrant, again, after subject to your approval, April 10th is posted, goes to mail and print. Town meeting, annual town meeting is scheduled by bylaw, Monday, April 27th at 7 p.m. And then in May, Tuesday, May 12th, 2026 will be the annual town election. And I know that the town clerk and her office do a great job reaching out to incumbents and in promoting the election and the deadline to vote. So that's the calendar in a nutshell. Before you know it, it'll be May.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the board has any questions or changes, and just as I mentioned, upon approval, if we have any changes, we'll be coming to you to request those. So they have to, it holds us to it, but any change, it could happen, the public and you are aware.
Sounds good.
Oh, looks good.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2027 budget calendar.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Couldn't get it out. Bit my lips. Couldn't get it out.
And,
All right.
and the last item, very short, is the Council on Aging's contract with MART. It's a 3-year contract, which is up. So this would be for FY26 through FY28. There are no major change. There are no substantive changes to the contract. It's just a renewal. The director of the Council on Aging, Katie Petrossi, was involved with that. The assistant town manager and MART also has been fully vetted. And so unless there are any questions from the board, we're looking for your support to approve the contract for another 3 years.
With signature by the chair.
Signature by the chair.
There's this, can you have them change, or it's still this Board of Selectmen?
Oh, you should say select board. I saw that.
Okay.
Yep, we will do that. I did see that select board member.
Even reading it sounded weird.
Yeah.
So what I'll ask them to do is change it, and then they'll send me back a contract, and then once it's sent back, I'll have select board member Livingston come down and sign it, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do it that way.
That's my only
But
question.
we can still approve it to the
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
I'll make make a motion that the board approve the fiscal year 26 through fiscal year 28 Council on Aging contract with MART.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Yep, just let me know.
Madam Chair, unless there's any questions from the select board, that concludes my report. I appreciate the board's time this evening.
Okay. All right. Under new business select board member questions, I had something. Did either one of you have anything come up?
I have nothing.
Okay. So before I begin to that, I would like that on our next meeting, we have proposed dates to replace our November 4th meeting.
Oh, good.
I
Yeah.
already made a note.
Yeah. So
Yes.
processing. I guess, if we can look for an alternate date, that'd be great. Otherwise, we're having a really big meeting on, what is it, November 17th?
18th.
The 18th.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but anyway, so yeah, we're gonna need that, so, okay. On with that. So, I kind of touched on this briefly, our last meeting. And this is, I'm asking the board, what I'll be asking the board is if they are willing to send a letter to Mass Development asking them to re-engage with the Devon's Jurisdictional Framework Committee. So let me give you a little background. This committee was originally formed around 18, and Mass Development was one of the people that asked for this committee to be formed. And at the time, we were working pretty well with Mass Development. Jessica Strunken was with us, and Ed Starzak, and we would meet over on 33 Commons in Devon's and have our meetings. And Mass Development did have a tendency to, they were taking care of the minutes, and they were taking care of the room, and they were kind of doing all the administrative work. All right, so flash forward, we have COVID. Jessica transfers to someplace else. She's moved on, and we got Dan Rivera, who immediately said they will not be participating with this committee because he said he was too busy. And if you remember, when he first became the president and CEO of Mass Development, been around circa 22, yeah. He wasn't meeting with any of the boards, but the deck came and asked this board for some, they needed some approval for something. And I says, gee, the CEO should really talk to us. So he was on vacation and he had to call in, and he told us that he couldn't meet with the committee because he was building a bridge. Acting like, like he was doing the actual shoveling. Okay, so I'm still not sure why there was a pullout, okay? But it has been an ongoing conversation with our committee because they are a stakeholder, okay? So there are 6 stakeholders. There's Ayer, there's Shirley, there's Harvard, there's the Devon's residents, there's the deck, and there's Mass Development, okay? And Mass Development, even though they're not like, they have a vote, but they don't have the big vote. Okay, I don't know how else to explain it to you. Otherwise, we'll be here all night. So, but they are kind of ignoring us, and we send them note every now and then. Hey, and it's always no. So we tried again. On June 18th, the committee sent a letter to Navjeet Bal, the new president CEO of Mass Development, about re-engaging with the committee. In the letter, we pointed out that 2033 is 8 years away regarding disposition of the Devon's Regional Enterprise Zone, or DREZ, and that Mass Development is essential to the process of developing a professional recommendation of disposition to include the necessary research. We pointed out that we had written a draft RFP for a professional consultant for the purposes of financial analysis with respect to disposition. Mass Development is a key data and information resource whose participation is needed. We mentioned recent developments with respect to the housing and development caps, the recommendations of the Governor's Task Force on the Future of Housing at Devon's, that all key stakeholders are needed to participate and collaborate. So the response we received, which took a while to get a response, we didn't get a response like within a week. I think that Victor had to poke them again, So Navjeet Ball sent back a response. As you know, the governing legislation for Devens contemplates a study to be started by July 1st, 2030 to evaluate alternatives for a permanent government structure at Devens. As set out in the legislation, mass development would be part of that effort, together with the Devens Enterprise Commission and the boards of selectmen as the elected representatives of each of the towns. That group is instructed to submit the study to the governor and other state leaders by July 1st, 2033. That work will include public participation and public hearings. We look forward to working with the group identified in the Devens legislation on these important questions as we get closer to the July 1st, 2030 date. In the meantime, we will not be able to commit mass development resources and personnel as you have indicated in the draft RFP. Now, all of this is on our Devens Jurisdictional Framework Committee website, which is linked on our town's website. Okay. Oh, so Victor says, replied back as to the invitation to rejoin the DJFC, while not the response we'd hoped for, your statement of mass development's position is clear. You have correctly identified the parties to the planning process, but you have not provided reasons why mass development believes the process should now not be ongoing, despite all the other parties committed to moving forward. Now, again, they were part of why the committee formed.
Yeah.
Now, at one point, we had the joint board of selectmen. I always have called this committee the JBoss 2.0.
Right.
Okay. But it's actually a lot better than the JBoss. So it was then decided that we wanted to engage with our elected representatives, Senator Eldridge, Representative Sina, and also Senator Cronin, who is Shirley, is his district, which of course has a piece of the Devens. So I sent them an email. Both Eldridge and Sina have indicated that they will zoom in to our November 12th meeting. Haven't heard from Cronin yet, but I told Jamie and Dan last night, hey, poke them and let them know that we'd like them there, because that else is his thing. Well, Jamie also suggested that the three towns select board to send a letter to ask the Mass Development CEO to come before each select board or to meet with the three select board members, one from each town, since it does seem clear that Mass Development will not attend a DJFC meeting. So that's where we're at. Now, what we're having the DJFC meeting is meeting tomorrow. We're going to be looking at a new meeting schedule. We've been meeting monthly. We've been working on like a little matrix question where each stakeholder has, said like, if the jurisdiction, for example, went back to the town of Ayer, how would you handle police services, fire services, and all that stuff? And so we've each given a little blurb as to what we think. And as I've indicated, I think for Ayer, it'd be a turnkey operation. Okay. So that's what we've been kind of working on, and it's really good. And, but now we're going to kind of probably, and we'll officially talk about and vote on this tomorrow, but we are leaning towards going into a quarterly meeting. There's not a lot of work that we're asking for mass development to do. We're not asking them to do any lifting like they may have done. And I think, and this is my opinion, because I can't get anyone to say whether or not this is part of the problem, but I remember when we talked to Dan Rivera, he kind of implied that, mass development was doing all the heavy lifting as far as the meeting room, doing the meeting minutes, yada, yada, yada. That's all been solved, okay? Each town takes a turn doing the meeting minutes. It was decided that we would do the meetings here, which works beautifully for everybody. And everybody's satisfied, and we have a very smooth machine here. So there's really not, if they don't want to sit with us the whole hour, that the meeting's going on, okay, but seriously, we're once a month or soon to be once a quarter. And even when we were at a quarterly before, they didn't want to show up, but they won't give us a real reason why. We're not asking for a lot, but we do kind of need them there because if we have a question, they have the answer. Now, the deck's been wonderful support in being able to answer any of our questions, but we also kind of need them. So what I'm asking this board is, do we want to send them, engage with mass development and say, hey, look, we really need you to be a part of this conversation. And it does, because I mean, whatever report goes to the state, as far as whenever we are able to get a professional consultant to pull all the pieces together to make a recommendation that this one would be the best result for the whole.
Mhm.
There's always going to be somebody unhappy. I mean, I think this is a big deal. And where I get the part where, hey, we got the 8 years. And honestly, there are so many times when somebody will say this is 2033 and then it's somebody's 2030. And I know that there's some people, could we move it a little sooner? I mean, at this point, just leave it alone, But my point is that I hesitate to make it feel like it could be rushed. Because whatever the disposition is going to be a change. The disposition is either going to be, it goes back to the historical properties, becomes its own town, or it stays status quo. But even if it stayed status quo, that's a change because we're not anticipating that answer. But I just feel like, maybe they can't be ignoring us. And we went through this when we even tried to do the municipal agreement with them on the, what was it, the wastewater?
Yes.
Yeah. And even that was hard to, I mean, we're all busy, but seriously, you can give us 20 minutes a month.
Yep.
Or every 3 months, if that's what it ends up being. So, that's where I'm at. How do you guys feel?
I think that's
Absolutely.
perfectly good ask. I support it.
Okay. All right then. Then I guess we'll try to come up with a draft
Yeah, we'll put together a draft. And,
letter, and if we can, we'll try to have it for next meeting.
Yep. We can do that.
Whatnot.
I know how well our letters go, but all we can do is try.
We'll have a draft for the
Yeah,
next meeting.
yeah.
As long as we're not sending it to the government.
That's very
Yeah.
true.
Which reminds me, I was at a little legislative candidate thing. Honestly, our economic director, she
That was
just
a chamber event.
thank you. She just says you need to come with me, and I'm following her. It's becoming a little running joke here. But anyways, in meeting some candidates that were from kind of all over, she got mentioned, and I can tell you that the rest of the region knows we're not happy.
Mhm.
So that much I can tell you. So it is well known that we're not happy. Now I know that we recently had the ribbon cutting or something for the groundbreaking for the standalone emergency room, which I applaud because we need that. But we still have a problem. And there's the impression that she thinks that the situation has been solved, and it has not, because we still need beds. So we're going to have to somehow figure out another way to do that. I mentioned to Dan last night. Did I say Sam?
Yeah, you did.
Sorry.
Mhm.
I mentioned to Dan last night, Dan Santa, that, there's a lot of people that talk about why can't we come up with our own community hospital. And as I said to him, I says, well, first of all, does anyone even remember how that was done? Years and years and years and years and years ago. But with that, perhaps we do need to look to the past a little bit to see how it was done, to apply it to today, because we need to figure out something. And I think we do need to shake the tree a bit, and we all need to work together to come up with a new way of doing things. But one thing I did say too, I says, if you people, and when I say you people, as I told them, I says the state, don't lock it down as far as when a company is doing business in this state, they follow the rules of this state, and this state holds them to the fire, keep walking. Because that has to change too. So. All right, well, thank you very much. Okay, next up, meeting minutes from September 16th and September 25th.
Is there any way that I could speak?
Yes,
Um,
Sarah?
I just want to say on September 16th, I watched the select board meeting on electronic voting devices. And over just the past 24 hours, I did email the board and town employees and moderators, just a couple points that I care about seeing included in the minutes. I just wanted to ask, would you please consider these points?
Actually, we
And that's
can't.
it.
Actually, we can't. We can only put in the meeting minutes what was actually discussed in a meeting. We can't put in what somebody feels should be the context. If you had
Oh.
spoken that night, then it would have been a part of the meeting minutes, but we can only put in what happened at the meeting.
I think that misses the point, because there were comments that were said about like the amount and the dollar amounts, 909, the purchase amount, and they just were not included in the meeting minutes. They were omitted. And I mean, that's like a subjective decision. It's not like,
Well, meeting minutes are highlights of what happened in a meeting. So
okay,
it's not necessarily going to be a word for word thing, but we can't add, you can't just say, well, I'd like to add context to what's been said if it wasn't said within the meeting.
okay, that's as far as I can go on this. I did review the meeting minutes on YouTube, and I really thought that I was suggesting some things that happened. But thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm. With that, do you guys have anything that you wanted to?
No, I reviewed them. Looks good.
I don't have any changes or edits.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 16th, 2025 and September 25th, 2025.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Okay. Anything else?
Nope, I'll make a motion that the board approve.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.